Hang spend time with my family.
Video games, yes or no?
I play the game,
Okay. College football 25?
of course.
Are we good?
I'm pretty good. I
Okay.
like to say
All
I
right.
like to think so.
Okay. Not getting too personal with you, so take it however you want, but what has fatherhood and just the family aspect of sort of maturing into being a veteran football player while at the same time having your family, what has that meant to sort of have them around for this journey?
I was just talking about this. That's also been nothing short of a blessing, man. I love my boys. Like everyone who knows me know that, and it's just my oldest son, Caden, he was at my spring game when he was first born in March. And like this was when I was at Georgia Tech. He came there and he could barely even see anything. He had earmuffs on so it wouldn't bluster his eardrums, but I still wanted him there for the pictures. And my youngest son, Carter, was just at my first game against Old Dominion. And that was like an experience just like none other as well. So I just been loving it.
That's special, man. That's real special. So let's continue a little bit off the field here, then we'll dive back in on the field. What's the favorite meal? Like we always talk food on here. Is there like a go-to? And I'm not talking about Yimmy telling you what you have to eat for your health and nutrition. You
Right.
could have anything. What's Kyle picking out?
Uh, I am a Chick-fil-A kind of guy. I'm not gonna lie. If I could just have a regular go-to meal, I'm gonna eat me something from Chick-fil-A for sure.
What's the order?
I get a number one, a large number one, no pickles, Polynesian sauce, and I might get a cookie or two or three.
Or three? Okay, yeah,
Yes.
respect that. All right, man. So as we start to kind of close this thing out, 5 games left. Hey, 5 games left for this season, for your South Carolina career, for your college career. Have you thought about like the big picture aspect of this? That this thing is kind of winding down a little bit at the college level.
Yes. It's surreal. I think back to a lot of things that I've been through throughout my college career, and it's just like while I've been here, I'm 2 kids deep into my college career, and it's just like a lot of things have been happening. So I'm blessed to be able to be in a position that I am in now.
For sure. Hey, when was the first moment that you noticed? Hey, this Dylan Stewart guy, he's he's pretty special athletically. Was that like a day one thing, a day two thing? And when were you like,
I'm sure
check this
everybody
guy
can
out?
attest when I say this. It was a day one thing for sure. It was like a workout one thing. It was like he is moving at a different. I can't even say speed. He's moving at a different volume than everyone else, and it's just like we just knew he was a freak athlete, you know.
Yeah, just
Yeah.
instantly.
Things he
Instantly.
was capable of as a freshman that other people aren't, obviously. And you think back to when you were a freshman and what you and other guys were capable of, and it's just like that's from God, you know.
Hey, how good can this guy be? Like you're a veteran. You've seen it all at this point at the college level. How good can Dylan Stewart be?
I told Dylan this, and I think I've said this before. He's has so much room for improvement, and he's already has all these tools in his arsenal right now that I don't think people really like. He gets a lot of hype and attention now, but I don't actually think people understand how much of a dynamic football player that he's going to be when he
Yeah.
actually combines all the aspects together. And he is doing it, and it's just amazing to see him in the process of doing that.
For sure, man. Hey, we've talked a lot of like edge and D line. Let's give a little bit of love to the other guys on the defense. It seems like y'all just got players at all three levels, man. So playing with Debo, D Knight, Bam Mark Scott, those guys, and having Nicky Mawari running around making plays on the back end. What can you kind of speak to just like the way this entire defense flows to the football? It seems like there's always multiple hats to the ball from all three levels.
Oh man, that's just the way we work on Tuesday and Wednesday and Thursday and so on. And then it's a bunch of old guys on our defense, so we think like, man, like what else are we gonna do? Like not run to the ball? Like we've been in college for 5, like you know what I'm saying? So it's just like we all have the same mentality of like it's either now or never, and we all treat it like it's now.
For sure. So A&M obviously up next after the bye week. I hear coaches talk about sometimes, hey, we're gonna get into the next opponent a little bit, but it's not like a game week where you're necessarily just going ahead and diving into the next opponent. So how much have you maybe looked ahead to A&M, if at all? And I mean, this thing's going to be a battle, man. Like, what are maybe some early thoughts on this opponent?
They're good. They're a good team. Offensively, they got a good quarterback. Decent, nice players at running back in the backfield, and that's about all I got for you, man. They're a good team. That's all I'll say.
For sure. So SEC night game, by the way, at Williams-Brice for this one. So you were there for night game, Akron, obviously, but this atmosphere I think has a chance to be pretty special. What have you seen? I mean, LSU atmosphere was obviously for a noon game insane. At least sitting in the stands. What has it been like to play in front of these crowds at Williams-Brice and the light show and just the atmosphere in general?
Man, it's been electric. Like I've never seen anything like it. I mean, like we'd have pretty good crowds at my last school, but it's like here it's different. Like in the SEC and how fans are, it's basically electric. So what I was saying is, it's nothing like I've ever seen before. Like I was saying, in the SEC it's different, and more. It seems like it's more serious to everyone, and the crowd obviously is crazy. Stadium. I never seen nothing like that either, even on the road and other places. So just a combination of all of those things just make you want to go out there and play better and play good as it is.
Yeah, for sure, man. And so, Kyle, as we close this thing out here, and we've kind of talked about goals and stuff already, but with 5 games left in the regular season, what do you think it's going to take for this team as a whole, as you kind of put on your veteran senior leader cap here? What does it take for this team to meet their overall goals and have the finish to this season that I know y'all want to have?
Most importantly, man, everybody got to come to work every day with the same attitude, no matter what happens, and then do their job and execute their assignments on Saturdays. And I feel like if everybody do that at a very consistent rate, then we'll have the success that we want.
Kyle, hey, man, we appreciate you taking the time. We'll definitely be pulling for you, and we hope you get that sack record, man. So we'll talk to you soon,
sir.
Okay?
For sure. Appreciate that.
From the Midlands to the PD to the beach.
The Game Network.
It's back! The Lawyer Lisa Special Teams Contest. Just go to 1075thegame.com and register. The pot starts at $100. Every week it increases $100 if Carolina doesn't score a special teams touchdown. But if the Gamecocks do score a special teams touchdown, you could win the pool. Again, just go to 1075thegame.com and register. It's the Lawyer Lisa Special Teams Contest from 1075 The Game.
Been enjoying all the college football action out at my home, and you can do the same. My setup was provided by Integrated Media. They mounted our TV, make sure I got our internet signal straight. Upstairs, another mounted TV, got the video games on a switcher for the kids. The adults, if we ever get time, might dabble in that a little bit. They can do any of that at your home, plus way more. You don't have to use the big box stores if you're looking for new television, if you want something mounted, if you're looking for Sonos wireless speakers, a sound bar, man cave upgrade, outdoor space, patio, screen porch. They can do it all for you. Go check out some inspiration photos, get some ideas of some cool stuff you could do this season. Integrated Media Columbia on Instagram or on Facebook. Give Michael and Nathan, their team at Integrated Media, a call. 803-948-8327. Local service. They do a great job. IntegratedMediaInc.com.
Hey, Columbia, Scott here with Traditions Fine Jewelers, telling you about the diamond buying difference when you purchase a diamond from us. No matter if you're looking at mined diamonds or lab-grown diamonds, at Traditions Fine Jewelers, we have a huge selection of both, and which you choose is up to you, but either way, you always get trade-in value of the diamond solitaire you purchase. When you spend over $1,500, you'll get a limited lifetime warranty when you get your ring checked every 6 months. Traditions has an in-house jeweler with over 30 years experience to take care of your every need. Ring sizing, stone setting, or if you just want to come by and get your ring cleaned. At Traditions Fine Jewelers, we have hundreds of mountings to see, touch, and feel, and to try on, or we can special order or custom create the perfect engagement ring for you. Traditions Fine Jewelers, 5134 Sunset in Lexington, or in the Village at Sandhills. Traditions Fine Jewelers, where the Midlands get engaged.
The Gamecock men's basketball season is almost here, and we need you to help us pack Colonial Life Arena all season long. Season tickets are on sale now and start as low as $90. That's less than $6 per game to see 2024 SEC Coach of the Year Lamont Parrish try and get back to the NCAA tournament for the second year in a row. For more information and to secure your season tickets, visit thegamecockclub.com/MBB today. Whatever the game, whoever you're with, just catch a game.
Hey everyone, it's Chris Clark. Garnet Trust is hoping to build the best and most sustainable NIL program in the country. To find out how you can get involved, go on over to garnettrust.com. You can support Gamecock athletes there, get access to exclusive content, and help Garnet Trust build the best NIL program in the country.
What you're talking about. Sponsored by Love Chevy, where the winning is only beginning. South Carolina's #1 volume Chevy dealer. I-26 at Harbison and at lovechevy.com. Together, let's drive.
We are so excited. Sound and Images has upgraded to a phenomenal facility at 807 Bluff Road, right there across the street from our friends at the State Fair. We have new upgraded facilities, video conferencing room experience that will seat up to 35 people depending on configuration. We also have meeting space and venue space on property to offer our partners at Sound and Images. Please contact Sound and Images at soundandimages.net, your commercial AV installation and live event production specialists.
Affordable landscapers near me.
Right here, sir.
Same ones I saw last time.
What? Can he not see us?
Nope, he can't see you yet. Get Cumulus Boost and get on the map. CumulusBoost.com.
Bingo. All right, Bill, we're recording now. And please put your phone on silent.
Oh, where is my phone?
Let's go, man. Okay. Get it together over there, player. Go ahead. Pick on me the way that you want to.
I wouldn't say that to my son.
Just go.
Like, why would people want to listen to the Sims Complete podcast?
A father-son dynamic duo talking about the game of football.
We do a lot of quarterback and coach talks. It's fun. I love doing this. It's been awesome.
Sims Complete. Check us out on the Believe Network. Appreciate it.
Just search Believe, BLEAV, wherever you listen.
What you're talking about.
Sponsored by Love Chevrolet
On the Game Network.
Welcome back in. It is the Gamecock Club Hour, presented by Krantz Cooling and Heating. Tyler Head and Wes Mitchell along with you. Of course, you just heard the conversation Wes had with Kyle Kennard, who, of course, is the star of this defense and is leading the way, obviously, in sacks for South Carolina. Good little insight from him. I know we checked in with him right at the beginning of the season, right before the season started, but get his perspective on where things stand as of right now, as, again, he has really turned a lot of heads and drawn attention from people at the next level as well for what his potential can be once he leaves South Carolina. Of course, a lot more football to play, and he's obviously in pursuit of that sack record that he is very well aware of, as he mentioned to you.
I appreciated the honesty, though. Like, there was a slight pause, and it was like, you know what? Let's not pretend. Like, this, I mean, you get your name on the stadium.
Sure.
Like, let's not pretend. Jadeveon Clowney, literally #1 overall pick, #1 high school recruit, one of the most talented players to ever put on a Gamecock uniform. And so I did appreciate that, hey, obviously, and I believe him 100% when he says, I would sacrifice it for wins. Like, that's just seems to be who he is.
Sure.
But any competitive athlete, deep down, I'm not saying you go into the season saying, hey, I have to break the sack record. But once it's there, it's ahead of you. Like, it's not even one of those things that's going to take a out-of-body experience to get. Like, if he continues to just do what he's done, it is very realistic that he could get the thing. And so, you know, I think that was maybe one of my favorite parts of the conversation. To be completely honest, I am kicking myself because I didn't ask 2 questions that would have been pretty good. One of them being, and maybe he's talked about this in the press conferences and I've missed it, where his sack celebration came from.
Okay.
And also, this thing has started to pick up steam, I've noticed on social media, people talking about what's a good nickname for the defense.
And
that's a good
I
one.
wish I had just put him on the spot and asked him, does he have an idea, or is there an in-house nickname that has not surfaced yet? But have you noticed people have started talking about that lately?
Yeah, a little bit. And again, when you're doing the things they've done so far this year, and they're obviously the strong point of this team, it is certainly worthy of a nickname. We hope they continue to play this well down the stretch. Kind of looking at these last handful of games for South Carolina this year, of course, we're going to move Wofford off to the side here, but you take on Texas A&M.
Disrespect.
I know I'm disrespecting the Terriers. Take on Texas A&M, take on Vanderbilt, take on Missouri in SEC play alone, and then you have Clemson. 3 of those teams are in the top half of their league in sacks allowed in terms of not allowing sacks. A&M, second best in the SEC, has only allowed 7 this year. Vanderbilt, 5th best, only allowing 11. And then Clemson, second in the ACC, only allowing 6. Missouri's allowed 16. They are 9th in the SEC. So going up against some tougher offensive lines compared to some of the ones you faced so far this year.
But don't you still kind of like his chances?
Oh, I absolutely do. No. I give him and the entire defensive front the benefit of the doubt. I'm just saying it's going to be, tougher competition more consistently over these next couple weeks because you don't have it in Oklahoma thrown in there that we knew obviously was struggling, quite a bit, or a Kentucky that has now turned out to be one of the worst when it comes to protecting quarterbacks in the SEC as well.
Well, not luckily, but y'all know what I mean. He was able to get into the books against Oklahoma because so many guys, it was almost the roll of the dice who was actually going to get the sack on so many of those plays where you have multiple guys that beat their man.
Right.
And so, Kyle's was kind of late in the game. I think just from...
It was fourth quarter, right?
Yeah, and it looked like they set it up to get him one.
They threw him a bone.
He was... he had worked his tail off all game, and then everybody else had one. Your sack leader did not have one at that point. And so they had him out in that wide 9 where he's just, it's him versus the tackle, and that was just a mismatch. But you also, if you really want to look at this from a stat perspective, we know Kyle's going to keep playing well and keep playing hard. There is some luck. There's some roll of the dice in terms of any stat, I feel like. You could hit the quarterback 10 times in a game and you may not get an actual sack.
Sure.
You look at, hey, let's not throw out Wofford. You kind of almost need to get your sack early.
Yeah.
That's the game where you look at, you say, okay, he should maybe be able to get one this week. But what if you're up big? And, they're not going to risk getting him or Dylan injured in the third or fourth quarter if it's just a blowout. So
sure.
I think if you really dive into this thing, it's all right, can you get him a first quarter sack or 2 to stay on that pace? And I do think sacks, he has been incredibly consistent in just stacking them pretty much every week. Typically, I feel like sacks are one of those things, maybe kind of like turnovers too. To a sense, they happen in bunches, I feel like. And you can go a game or 2 or 3 without one, and then you maybe get 2.5. And
half of his at Tech last year came in that one game against Wake Forest.
Yeah, and, Clowney got the record with the 4.5 spot the last regular season game of that year. Went into Clemson and just went off. So, broke the Death Valley sack record. And so, I think for Kyle, it's can he just keep this incredible run that he's been on, and can he not get vultured by a couple of his teammates who are just really, really good as well?
It's obviously been a lot of fun watching him, and we knew coming in that he was going to have a guy that he was going to be a guy that had the potential to move on to the next level, after this season. He has certainly moved up a lot of people's draft boards. Looking at Mel Kiper's latest big board, has him listed as the number 5 outside linebacker for the 2025 NFL draft. Now, that was a discussion Terry and I were having the other day. Do you think the NFL kind of sees him as a tweener type of guy? Because from a size standpoint, he does kind of match up with what you want in an edge guy.
He does or doesn't?
He does. He's 6'5". They list him as 255, but he's right around what you would typically expect an edge guy to be.
Yeah, and I think because of the different schemes used, this to me is one of the main problems in just being so systematic with
but both the high school rankings over the years and the NFL stuff, but I don't know what the best way to do it. An outside linebacker, traditionally, I used to think outside linebacker is like a Sam or a Will in like your 4-3 traditional defense. Like that's an outside linebacker. Now, typically, you think of outside linebacker as like that 3-4 outside guy, an edge rusher, basically. Yeah. So, I think that's what Kyle is. I think he can play outside linebacker. Like Clowney has, some of the teams he's played for has been an outside linebacker. Other times he's like a defensive end. Well, I think Kyle is your prototypical outside linebacker in a 3-4 / defensive end in a 4-man front. Like that's where he is an edge guy. And Carolina they just call it edge. And sometimes they have that DN with their hand in the dirt. Sometimes they have them standing up. But that's what he is. He's a defensive end in a 4-man front. And I think, these NFL guys get bigger and bigger in terms of that spot. But in no world am I ever going to call 255 pounds for that spot undersized. That's he looks the part. He's long, obviously athletic, and frankly, I don't know enough about all the other guys that are going to be listed ahead of him or behind him. But if you are producing the way he is in this conference, that's, I think, got to go a long way with teams.
Oh, yeah, and for comparison, he's bigger than Micah Parsons with the Dallas Cowboys. So if you're trying to look for a direct comparison, somebody that's technically he's listed as a linebacker, but is kind of that edge guy with what the what the Cowboys do as well. But nevertheless, he's going to have hopefully a great career at the next level and has done a lot to garner that attention, because coming in to here, obviously, we knew that the edge spot was one that needed to be shored up. It just wasn't something that was productive last year, or nearly productive enough last year for South Carolina. And you had hopes that Dylan Stewart was going to come in and be the highly touted true freshman that he's obviously become, but there's no guarantee on that. So getting a guy on the other side of the line that had experience, that had production in a place like Georgia Tech, played at the Power 4 level, was just a great move in the offseason. Again, both these guys are having great years so far. And as we know, you can choose to defend one. Well, that means that it opens up the lanes for the other guy.
Well, and then you got those interior guys who have just been fantastic too. So, it's just impressive all the way around. I went back and looked at my preseason predictions in terms of, player MVP on one side of the ball, newcomer of the year on both sides of the ball, leading sack guy, leading tackler. The one thing that I 100% sort of just underestimated was Kyle's impact. From what we had heard, we knew he was more than likely going to be starting and that he was going to be an impact guy on this defense to an extent. But I think we all, at least publicly, maybe the staff is sitting there going smirking like, hey, we got a guy. But I think we underestimated just how dominant of a season he was going to have. You get to the point where about halfway through, when you flip on that broadcast, they start talking about this South Carolina defense. Kyle Kennard has been the first guy out of their mouth. Like, hey, this guy is dominant. And, he has led the way up front. I still think you have a little argument for my guy Nicky for MVP of the defense. I think you can go.
Sure.
You could go a number of ways. I think that one could still be decided in the final 5 games.
Right.
As far as who is your overall defensive MVP. But in terms of, defensive newcomer, impact guy, as good as some of these other guys have been. D. Knight has been fantastic as well. It's hard to argue against Kennard as sort of the newcomer of the year on defense and maybe even overall team defensive MVP. And I think a lot of that credit, Sterling Lucas too, man. We are big fans of Sterling Lucas on this show.
Yep.
And we just continue stacking evidence of how good Sterling Luke is. So I hate to be a Gamecock fan. I feel like anytime somebody does well, it's always like, wait, can't lose that guy. Can't lose that guy.
Yeah.
But 100%, do not lose Sterling Lucas. Make sure that guy's taken care of.
Right. No, definitely a great year. Obviously, and the defense is leading the way for Carolina as we hope they can find their way to get a few more wins, at least get back to a bowl game here over the next couple of weeks to wrap up the regular season. Speaking of draft projections here, a couple other guys that popped up on Mel Kiper's big board ahead of the Spring's 2025 NFL Draft. We'll dive into some of those coming up next as we wrap up today's edition of the Gamecock Club Hour presented by Krantz Cooling and Heating. Reminder, tonight, Thursday Night Football, Vikings and Rams, 7:30, pregame, 8:15 kick, all right here on The Game.
107.5 The Game.
In Columbia.
100.5 The Game.
In Florence.
100.3 The Game.
In Myrtle Beach. The Game Network. Powered by Integrated Media. The Game TV.
Sponsored by Shepherd's Glass, a true reflection of quality.
The Game TV.
This is Boomer Esiason with Sports Minute. Minnesota, fresh off its first loss, visits the Rams tonight. Now, this is an important bounce-back game for the Vikings. Kevin O'Connell can't let Sam Darnold and company come out flat against a team rumored to be trading Cooper Kupp and potentially even Matthew Stafford, if you can believe it. LA is hanging tough. The defense is playing well, but the Vikes should cover and win. I'm going to say 24-20. Enjoy the game. I'm Boomer Esiason.
I didn't ask to be thrown in the streets, but I did ask for help, and Covenant House was there for me.
For these kids who didn't ask to be put in this unthinkable situation, Covenant House is there. To learn more, go to safeplacetosleep.org today.
O'Reilly. Check engine light on? Take the guesswork out of your check engine light with O'Reilly Veriscan. It's free and provides a report with solutions based on over 650 million vehicle scans verified by ASE certified master technicians. And if you need help, we can recommend a shop for you. Ask for O'Reilly Veriscan today.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
It's football season, and now you can get anything you need for game day delivered with Uber Eats. Well, almost anything. You can't get a running back. But baby back ribs? Yes. Uber Eats, official on-demand food delivery partner of the NFL.
Alan Kennington, responsible for this ad. Office in 1440 Broad River Road, Columbia, South Carolina.
It's called an accident for a reason. It wasn't planned, but it happened. It's not your fault, but somehow you're the one paying. Medical bills, lost wages, and the pain. You need someone on your side to fight for you. With over 85,000 cases resolved in 12 offices across the state, you need South Carolina's largest injury law firm. On your side, you need George Sink now.
Get George Sink Law Firm on the line. Call 999-9999.
Sometimes I struggle to get to sleep. My body stopped for the day, but my mind is still running. So I take ZzzQuil.
ZzzQuil, the world's #1 sleep aid brand, has a range of non-habit-forming products to fit you and your family's needs. Invest in a great night's sleep for the best you tomorrow.
I'm awake and ready to take on anything.
Better days start with ZzzQuil nights. Explore our products at ZzzQuil.com. Use as directed. Keep out of reach of children.
Febreze. So my home is also my office. And before I can focus, every room's gotta be clean. That means tidying up, then spraying my Febreze Air Mist. Ooh, that's fresh. Febreze Air Mist scents are all high quality. They fight any weird funk, and they give my air an instant boost of freshness. So not only does my home smell good, I feel good too. After I Febreze, it's time to start my day.
Breathe happy, Febreze, la 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 la.
Do you have sagging, soft, or bouncy floors in your home? Well, this could be a sign of rotten wood caused by moisture in your crawl space. Damaged wood in your crawl space can affect your home's foundation, and that can affect your home's value, and nobody wants that. Say goodbye to sagging floors and hello to a stable foundation. Contact Canty today for your free inspection at 803-424-8380 or visit cantycanfixit.com.
The Gamecock Club Hour.
With Gamecock Central.
Presented by Krantz Cooling and Heating on the Game Network.
Welcome back in. It is the Gamecock Club Hour presented by Krantz Cooling and Heating. Tyler Head and West Metro along with you here on your Thursday on the Game. Appreciate everybody checking us out on the Game TV, sponsored by our friends over at Shepherd's Glass and powered by Integrated Media. I mentioned a moment ago, with the conversation around Kyle Kennard that he was the number 5 outside linebacker according to Mel Kiper's big board for the upcoming draft in the spring. And we'll stick with defense here because there's a couple other guys for South Carolina that are expected to go in the draft. And starting off, no surprise here, Nicky Manwari listed as the number 2 safety according to Mel Kiper, behind Malachi Starks at Georgia and ahead of Kevin Winston Jr. at Penn State. And obviously this is a guy that, in less than 3 years now has just played so much football, got thrust into the starting role very quickly, and your number 1 has continued to get better and better, and like you said, has a very strong case to maybe even be the MVP of this defense over a guy like Kennard this year.
Yeah, he's been so good, man. I think just he's always been an eraser in terms of like if a guy gets past that second level, Nick more times than not is going to come in and clean it up for you. Like he has been some of it is natural. Obviously, he's worked hard, I think, too. But just from the moment he stepped on campus, he's been a really good solo tackler, I feel like. Like, he's been in those one-on-one situations. More times than not, he gets the guy on the ground. And I think that's been a huge thing for South Carolina over the years that he's been there. I've been most impressed with how Nick has cleaned up his ability in coverage, his ability in the passing game overall, whether that's playing – a deep free safety situation where he's kind of last man in defense, or, we've seen him in actual one-on-one coverage make some plays, cuts underneath the guy, makes that interception, obviously, against Oklahoma. I mean, it's been really impressive how much he has progressed under Torian Gray, under Clayton White. You always knew just the pure athletic freakiness was there.
Sure.
And that's what the NFL teams are looking for, too. Like, this was a guy from the moment I remember I was at the camp when he got offered. And he gets out there, and for those who don't know, the recruiting camps, the first part is very much run kind of like an NFL combine style where you're doing testing. And then the latter part in the afternoon is more like individual drills with specific positions and then like one-on-ones. After he goes through the NFL combine style testing, there was already this buzz about, okay, this guy is this tall and he ran what in the shuttle and the 40. And Carolina, to be fair, already had their eyes on him. Like they knew this was a possibility. They had done their research. They just wanted to confirm it all. Then he goes out there, looked a little raw, but I mean, he's covering guys much smaller than him out there and running with them, and Beamer was like right there the whole time watching, so you knew it was probably going to be an offer situation. But this is not a guy who was super highly rated at the time or highly recruited at the time. So they get him in. He's continued to develop. But the point I was about to get to was when he does the NFL Combine stuff for real, he's going to check all those boxes in terms of athleticism. I think the key for Nick, because there's going to be a little bit of what he faced when he got to South Carolina, it was, is this guy a linebacker or a safety? Because you see him, he's so long and he's got such a big frame. Some people are going to be, and you see how he can tackle, some people are going to be a little bit, I would say, have a push to say, man, if we grew this guy into a linebacker the way he runs, Lord knows what the upside is. But also, Carolina sort of resisted that urge because I think they felt like over time, like, this guy can be an All-American type safety. And so I think the key for Nick, as versatile and multiple as a lot of the NFL defenses are and some of the things they do, is that he finds a landing spot in the NFL. And this is I think we got to assume this is probably his last year. That's a safe assumption.
Sure.
And I think it's about finding a place, a defensive coordinator, a head coach that will use his skill to where he's almost a guy that has a diverse enough skill set. You kind of want to build it around him a little bit. I know that's a lot for a rookie, but you want to at least build a position around what he can do.
Last one here, O'Donnell Fortune listed as the number 10 corner, according to Mel Kiper's big board. And he's somebody this year that we knew already had that cornerback spot locked down. It was the question of who's going to be on the other side of the field covering. And outside of the Ole Miss game a couple weeks ago, he's done a relatively good job with his coverage. Has not allowed any other opponent to get past 32 yards in terms of the guys that he's been matched up with. So, sometimes quiet. You don't really talk about him a whole lot, but that's a good thing when you're talking about corners because that means they're not getting thrown at and targeted a lot.
Yeah, he's been really good, man. Like, I think he has probably outplayed a little bit of the expectation for him. Maybe not the internal expectation, but I feel like maybe from a media and fan standpoint, we didn't quite give OD the level of respect or expectation that you had for some of those guys that he's replaced. But man, talk about this run here at DB where it was last year, of course, Marcellus Dial just steps in. Okay, this is the next man up. Before that, of course, you had D-Rush, you had Cam Smith, next man up. You can go back to, Muschamp era, J.C. Horn and Izzy Mukwamu, those guys. So this run of defensive backs and this run specifically, you start talking about cornerbacks. And then I would argue you already have an idea of who next man up is for next year's team because you've sort of been able to build and develop some young guys underneath the starters. That has been, if you look at the recruiting at defensive back, you maybe aren't necessarily, and I'm talking about on paper, when the guy's committed, you're maybe not necessarily completely blown away by the rankings. DQ Smith, Nick E. I mean, OD has been here a while. That was way back. I think that was Muschamp era. But point being, you're not just like, oh, they've landed all 4- and 5-star guys. But when you look at how it's actually played out, like the reality of how you want your roster to be in terms of development, one guy moves on to the NFL, that's okay. We got this next guy ready to just step in to that role. It's been almost picture perfect in terms of what you want from it. And you can look and say, well, Judge and Vicari are next man up at corner for next year. So it should continue. Now, obviously, they'll look to build a little bit more corner depth between now and then. But you've got a long time to figure that out.
And we talk about, kind of getting back to Kyle Kennard has been the subject of this hour. Obviously, when you have a good pass rush, everything else in your defense obviously falls in line. And I brought up these numbers yesterday. The difference in the pass defense from a year ago and this year is staggering. You went from allowing 246 yards to the air last year, which was 101st in the nation, to just 196, which is 36th best in the nation, because these quarterbacks are under constant duress. They're having to get the ball out. They're forcing them into mistakes where you're having guys like Emori and O'Donnell Fortune getting these interceptions or pass deflections or whatever it may be. And again, when you have that front that's being able to push the way that it has, the rest of your defense falls in line, and we're seeing that this year.
Yeah, always rush and cover. They always go hand in hand. And, the better you are at one, I guess more it balances out at the other. And it's been impressive on all sides of this defense. I am curious to see what they do for the final 5 games because you will not find a more, I would say, confident group than that South Carolina defense right now.
Appreciate Kyle Kennard for taking us time for the Gamecock Club Hour presented by Krantz Heating and Cooling. Coming up next, Gamecock Central Takeover Hour presented by Firehouse Subs as we navigate your bye week here on The Game.
107.5 The Game. Broadcasting live from the Herndon Chevrolet Studios.
Take up to $20,000 off new Silverados.
Stop by or shop online today and see why Herndon Chevrolet makes you smile. Together, let's drive.
All right, guys, as always, let me tell you about our friends over at Classic Roofing. You can check out more information on them and their services over at classicroofingsc.com. Or if you already know you need them, hit that free estimate button or just give them a call, 803-590-7870. Now, you may be wondering, why do I need to call? Why do I need to get a free estimate if I don't have any issues? Well, obviously, if you own a home, your roof is one of the most important parts of that home, both logistically, it is literally protecting your head, so that's important. But also, you want to make sure that what could one day be a pretty big purchase in terms of a new roof, you can go ahead and plan for that by getting this free estimate. So maybe there's a couple of things that you can do to extend the life of that roof, or you can go ahead and be planning for how much life you do have left on that roof. Hit up our friends at Classic Roofing. They want to be your partner in terms of making sure everything's covered there. ClassicRoofingSC.com, 803-590-7870.
The Gamecock Go Pass is back. For only $20 a month, you'll receive access to all non-conference football games, most men's and women's basketball and baseball games, and all softball, soccer, and volleyball games. To learn more about the Gamecock Go Pass, visit thegamecockclub.com/go.
Powered by Integrated Media, The Game TV.
Sponsored by Shepherd's Glass, a true reflection of quality.
The Game TV.
Sponsored by Shepherd's Glass.
I'm Russell Ott. If you're like most people I talk to, you're just tired of the nonsense in politics. It's getting harder and harder to really know where candidates stand on the issues. Politicians seem to pledge their allegiance to parties rather than people. All the silly games do nothing to help families and businesses that are struggling to pay the bills. It's time to push back on politics as usual and get back to common sense solutions that work. That's how we create a stronger South Carolina. I'm Russell Ott, and I'm asking for your vote for state senate so I can get to work for you.
Paid for by Ott for Senate.
The Firehouse Captain's Club features their signature Captain Sorensen's hot sauce and their new Firehouse Hero Sauce, along with savory oven-roasted chicken, melted pepper jack cheese, crushed red pepper flakes, crispy smoky bacon, lettuce, tomato, and onions. Be sure to try the Captain's Club today at any one of the 14 Midlands Firehouse locations. Order ahead with the Rapid Rescue to go, but if a sampling platter is more your style, get all of your game day tailgate needs online at firehousesubs.com. Firehouse Subs, founded by firemen.
Hey, Columbia, Scott here with Traditions Fine Jewelers, telling you about the diamond buying difference when you purchase a diamond from us. No matter if you're looking at mined diamonds or lab-grown diamonds, at Traditions Fine Jewelers, we have a huge selection of both, and which you choose is up to you, but either way, you always get trade-in value of the diamond solitaire you purchase. When you spend over $1,500, you'll get a limited lifetime warranty when you get your ring checked every 6 months. Traditions has an in-house jeweler with over 30 years experience to take care of your every need. Ring sizing, stone setting, or if you just want to come by and get your ring cleaned. At Traditions Fine Jewelers, we have hundreds of mountings to see, touch, and feel, and to try on, or we can special order or custom create the perfect engagement ring for you. Traditions Fine Jewelers, 5134 Sunset in Lexington, or in the Village at Sand Hills. Traditions Fine Jewelers, where the Midlands get engaged.
Twin Peaks is the best in the game. Here, your favorite drafts are poured at a frosty 29 degrees, and rare barrel-aged whiskeys are served just the way you want them. It's bigger game days and bolder fight nights. I mean, where else can you find a scratch kitchen that always comes in clutch every day from lunch to late night? Only at Twin Peaks, the #1 sports bar.
Twin Peaks Scratch Kitchen scores every time. Dig into hand-smashed burgers, chef-inspired flatbreads, and more at your local lodge.
WNKT FM Eastover, Columbia.
Congrats to the Gamecocks women on another national championship.
A Cumulus media station.
It's the Gamecock Central Takeover Hour
With Chris Clark, Wes Mitchell, and Tyler Head.
on your home of the Gamecocks in Columbia.
107.5 The Game.
On 100.3 The Game in Myrtle Beach and 100.5
The Game in Florence.
Welcome, Vegas. It is the Gamecock Central Takeover Hour presented by Firehouse Subs. Tyler Head, Wes Mitchell, and Chris Clark. I have to be fair because I always call Wes out about it. Chris showing up right as the show is starting today, pulling a Wes Mitchell. I guess there's one in it for every one of us. But wow, Wes has been here for a while, Chris, and you're just strolling in right as the show's starting.
I've been here for a while. Been on the phone.
I didn't see you.
Working the phones. I was in there. Yeah. If you didn't see me, it didn't happen. Wes saw me. We made eye contact.
Can you confirm that, Wes?
I mean, I'm kind of enjoying Chris getting the me treatment.
Like I said, I have to be fair.
Totally.
He was out there, but I feel like with me, y'all don't care about that. As long as you have to walk through this sliding door.
Listen, I get locked in this room at 9 o'clock, and I don't get to leave until noon. So what happens outside these doors, I know nothing about.
Just 9 today? Were you not in at the 6?
No, I did not have to fill in for Bill this morning. He got his rest yesterday.
Bill.
His beauty sleep.
Yeah, definitely beauty sleep.
He needs more of that.
Oh, sorry, Bill.
Don't we all? But you know what? That's what a bye week is for. To get rested up, get ready to go for this final stretch run of the regular season. Obviously, the players, as we talked about yesterday, getting a few days off here this weekend before they lock back in at the beginning of next week to focus on A&M. Coaches will be out on the recruiting trail at high schools and all that kind of stuff for their games coming up this weekend. I want to go back to something I played a little bit earlier. Cut number 17 here, Dave. This was Beamer yesterday on Out of Pocket with Alyssa Lang and Randall Cobb on the SEC Network, and he was asked the question on if a bye week kills momentum during the season.
Yeah, certainly, when you play like you did last Saturday, you want to keep it going, but it's also coming at a good time too, in the sense that we've played 7 games. We got 5 straight games in November coming up, and that's going to be a grind. And for a lot of these freshmen that you're talking about, they've never played football this late into the season. If they didn't make it to the playoffs, their season was about over here at the end of October. So it comes at a good time in that we are able to get rested up a little bit, get healthy. We've got a 7-game body of work to now really look at our team and say, here's where we need to improve. And we really attack that this week in practice, give our guys some time off this weekend to get rested up mentally and physically, and then get back to work on Sunday. And then we know we got a big challenge next week against A&M.
And this is a rare season where you have 2 bye weeks because of the way the calendar falls. And when you kind of look at the 3 games prior to the first bye week and 3 games prior to this bye week, there's a lot of similarities. In both those instances, you had a game like the Kentucky game and the Oklahoma game where you just completely dominated opponents that, you knew you had the opportunity to beat. You had a game like Alabama and LSU where you played a tight game against an opponent that everybody thought was better than you, and if a couple things go different ways, you probably end up, winning those games. Then you had another game where you just didn't look the way you wanted to look, and in this instance, Ole Miss a couple weeks ago, and then Old Dominion in week number 1 for South Carolina as well. So you ride a similar wave of momentum going into this bye week. You just hope, like they did against Ole Miss a couple weeks ago, they don't come out flat straight out of the bye.
Yeah, I saw some reactions online of just, hey, yeah, bye week. That worked out great last time, which I thought was kind of short-sighted a little bit, honestly. And so I think for Carolina, me personally, I kind of like the 2 bye weeks because I think college football is at its best when you get teams at their best in terms of health. And we are, obviously not everybody's going to play in college football playoff. But as these seasons just get longer and longer and you tack on more and more games for some teams and for some guys, and we're asking these players to play, it seems like more just, I would say, high leverage games. How many games have we gone into this year that were like, this is the game of the century, and then next week, hey, this is the game of the century. The schedules are getting more and more brutal. We're seeing more and more of the top teams, especially the new Big Ten, teams that were never going to play each other in the past or wouldn't play each other on a regular basis. Now will. I think with the added just bumps and bruises of these schedules, having 2 bye weeks in terms of just keep more guys healthy, I think that's very good for the game. I'd be for this every year, honestly. And I think it's sort of, you always sort of, I feel like, wait for college football to start all offseason if you're a fan, and then you just blink and the thing is 3/4 of the way done. So having another little opportunity to sort of break it up a little bit, I think is good, but I also just think it's healthy for the game. It does let you reset a little bit. And, what can you add? What can you tweak? What can you subtract? Let's be honest, the question for Carolina, you have to keep finding ways to try to tweak this offense and get a little more efficient, get a little bit more, eliminate, I would almost imagine there's a cut up in that ops building of every single negative play South Carolina's had on offense this year. What's the common denominator in those plays? I don't know. I think that's something you have to look at if you're South Carolina and continue to try to eliminate those things. To me, that remains priority number 1 going into this bye week.
Yeah, and to go back to your original thought there on, the bye week didn't go well last time. Well, that was last time. If you want to play that game, you can go back in Shane Beamer's tenure, 2021, 22, 23, and just look at the different bye weeks there, right? 2021 came off a bye week, beat Florida, 40-17. 2022, I think they won after that bye week. 2023, they lost 3 straight games after the bye week. All hope is lost, and then you finish the season with a flourish, right? You didn't have a bye week. So I think you can pick out examples to kind of fit wherever your head's at or whatever you want the narrative to be. I think it's all about what you do with the bye week. Last time they had a bye week, and they're playing a really good opponent who happened to lose the previous week. So remember that storyline, that narrative. They're going to be mad. I don't think it had anything to do with Ole Miss being mad. I think it had to do with those 2 teams played. South Carolina didn't play very well. from the start, and as a result, they lost and lost handily. And as we've seen this year in the SEC with all the parity, with most of the teams, probably almost all the teams being very close to each other, if you don't play well, you'll lose. If you don't play well, you might get blown out even. South Carolina's been on both sides of that this season. So to your point, Wes, you've got to use this bye week in a better fashion than you did last time. That can be getting healthy. That can be how you prepare. Shane Beamer, I'm sure, will tweak some things on that front. And you look, your next opponent, A&M, they have one of those games of the century coming up on Saturday. It's number 8 LSU at number 14 A&M. It's at Kyle Field. It's going to be a very emotional, tough war game, I think. And tickets are $221 each at their lowest. So, it's a huge game. We could sit here and go, they're going to be tired from that game. Like, you can make up any number of things. At the end of the day, these teams are going to play. Whoever plays the best is going to win in Columbia next weekend.
What if they're mad, Chris? Ooh.
South Carolina might be mad. That's the other thing. I talked to Oscar Attaway about that, and just the intensity level. He said, we're going to carry that through. That's how we're practicing every week. So all that's great, but, it's about your preparation, who plays best.
This South Carolina team, as we know, has now played LSU with College Game Day in town. They played Ole Miss, which at the time was billed to be a just massive football game. They have gone to Alabama, and, of course, they've gone to Oklahoma. I think if you sort of start to look ahead at this game, if A&M is 7-1 overall and 5-0 in the SEC coming in, they're going to break into the top 10. They're 14 right now. They'll break into the top 10 with a win over LSU this week. And it's going to be a night game. It's going to be hyped all to you-know-what about the opportunity for South Carolina. But I think at times in the past, Carolina, and this is not specific to any one team, this has been almost an institutional thing with South Carolina teams. You get so hyped up for these big opportunities that sometimes you lose sight of just go play. Like, just go play the game the way you know how to play. I say all that to say, I think this team has now played in enough of those sort of high-leverage type games where you do have the eyes of college football on you a little bit, that I think they'll be much more prepared to just put all that aside and just go play. Maybe A&M ends up being just better than you, but I don't think it's going to be, because you have a veteran team now as well. Yeah. I don't think you're going to lose because of the spectacle of this game. If you lose, it's just because they beat you.
And I think that's an important thing to note, especially considering the young guys in very important spots like Lenora Sellers, like Mazio Bennett, like Josiah Thompson at the left tackle spot. Again, like you said, they've been in huge games. They've been to Alabama. They've been here on game day, and the entire nation is watching you. So playing A&M on a Saturday night in what could be the nationally televised game on ESPN or whatever, that's just kind of another thing that's been happening this year that they should be used to at this point. So the moment won't be too big no matter what stage is, it seems like.
Yeah, you're not going to look across and be like, oh, A&M is coming into town. Okay, who cares? Next up, I think. And now you talk about opportunities. This is a good South Carolina football team. Like, I truly believe they've proved that. And the opportunity ahead of you is that the difference in sitting there at 5-3 going into this stretch and 3-3 in SEC play with a couple of really close losses versus kind of falling back up. We've been a good team, but this schedule has just kept us from doing anything special. You're sitting there, you're like, it's a good team, but they're 4-4. I don't even know if I can put in words how different that feels to be. If you're 5-3 with a top 10 SEC night game home win with your fans just going insane, we'll have a much better idea this time next week what the recruiting guest list will look like. But I can already tell you it's going to be another huge weekend. I just feel like the program momentum that you could get with this win, I don't even know if you can put it in words.
Well, at some point, and I don't know if there's an answer. It's game 6, it's game 7. At some point, you flip from this is a good team that has X record to you are what your record is, right? Like if South Carolina goes 5-7, it's not going to do any of us good to sit here and go, well, that was a good team, but no, you're going to be 5-7. Right now, I think we all think they're what they are. They're 4-3. They're a good team, but ultimately they're going to have to go out and win. You know, you got to go beat an A&M, beat Clemson on the road, beat Missouri. Like, I'm not saying you have to do all those things, but you have to do some of them, and you have to ultimately get to the point where your record is what you are, because it's about realizing that potential. And we've seen that potential of this team, but we've seen that potential in a lot of teams. We've seen it in A&M. They're a good team too. So it's been a fun year. But for South Carolina, I agree with you, Wes. They're a really good team. Can they build on that Oklahoma performance and just carry it through the rest of the season?
So when I went back and looked at my predictions, we talked about this yesterday. 7-5 still feels. I think if you just had like one of those little percentage graphs that's showing you what's most likely, I think 7-5 is still probably most likely at this point. If South Carolina beats A&M, though, then all of a sudden the potential for a super special finish to this season instantly becomes a reality. Because then you look ahead, you're like, okay, you've now stacked a couple of really good performances in a row, and you're looking to me, you're looking at Vandy, you're looking at Missouri, and you're just saying, we're a better team. Like, if you've beaten A&M at that point, you're saying, we're just a better team. And so then the reality of an actual truly special finish and, in turn, a potentially special season, I think, comes back into focus.
It's Gamecock Central Takeover Hour presented by Firehouse Subs. Going to do something pretty fun coming up next. JP Hovey, producer of Bussin' with the Boys, going to be joining us. Huge Gamecock fan. Get his thoughts on what's going on with this football team. Gamecock Central Takeover Hour presented by Firehouse Subs on your Thursday on The Game.
The Game Network in Columbia.
107.5 The Game.
In Florence.
100.5 The Game.
In Myrtle Beach.
100.3 The Game.
It's back! The Lawyer Lisa Special Teams Contest. Just go to 1075thegame.com and register. The pot starts at $100. Every week it increases $100 if Carolina doesn't score a special teams touchdown. But if the Gamecocks do score a special teams touchdown, you could win the pool. Again, just go to 1075thegame.com and register. It's the Lawyer Lisa Special Teams Contest from 1075 The Game.
1075 The Game. Broadcasting live from the Herndon Chevrolet Studios.
Take up to $20,000 off new Silverados.
Stop by or shop online today and see why Herndon Chevrolet makes you smile. Together, let's drive.
All right, you hear about our friends over at Integrated Media here every day on the show. We're going to keep telling you about them because they are the local company that can help take your home to the next level from an audiovisual standpoint. Go check out their work, examples of their past work, get some inspiration. Integrated Media Columbia on Facebook and on Instagram. You can see some of the projects they've done in the past. Everything from mounting new TVs, Sonos wireless speakers, helping people improve their internet signal at their home or business so there's no buffering, so that your home or business can handle any of the tasks online that you need. Stream across multiple devices. They can even put in a complete smart home system for you where you can control everything. Lights, thermostat, security and cameras, all from the touch of a button on your smartphone. IntegratedMediaInc.com or give them a call. 803-948-8327. That's Michael and Nathan at Integrated Media.
I'm Rick Julius, a partner at Cordell & Cordell. Divorce is more than just a legal process. It's a life-changing event that can impact your future, finances, and your relationship with your children. You've worked hard to build a life that you're proud of, and you deserve a legal partner who will work just as hard to protect it.
Schedule an appointment with one of Cordell & Cordell's Columbia area attorneys. Rick Julius, licensed in Pennsylvania only. 1201 Main Street, Suite 840, Columbia, South Carolina, 29201. CordellCordell.com.
Powered by Integrated Media, The Game TV.
Sponsored by Shepherd's Glass, a true reflection of quality.
The Game TV.
Sponsored by Shepherd's Glass.
The Firehouse Captain's Club features their signature Captain Sorensen's hot sauce and their new Firehouse Hero Sauce, along with savory oven-roasted chicken, melted pepper jack cheese, crushed red pepper flakes, crispy smoky bacon, lettuce, tomato, and onions. Be sure to try the Captain's Club today at any one of the 14 Midlands Firehouse locations. Order ahead with the Rapid Rescue to go. But if a sampling platter is more your style, get all of your game day tailgate needs online at firehousesubs.com. Firehouse Subs, founded by firemen.
Did you know that Gerber Life Guaranteed Life Insurance provides valuable whole life insurance protection to help cover your final expenses? It's true, and it can help with expenses such as medical bills, burial costs, and unpaid debts. It helps protect your family from the financial burden of your final expenses. If you're 50 plus or 50 to 75 in New York, your life insurance acceptance is guaranteed with this policy, regardless of your health history. There are no medical exams to complete or lengthy health questionnaires to fill out. Simply visit GerberLifeFamily.com. And premiums don't increase over time. The amount you pay when coverage begins is the same amount you'll pay throughout the duration of your policy. Just answer 4 easy questions to get your free personalized quote instantly by visiting GerberLifeFamily.com. See website for terms and restrictions. That's GerberLifeFamily.com. Again, that's GerberLifeFamily.com.
What you're talking about. Sponsored by Love Chevy. It's back to cool season with big-time savings on Tahoe Suburbans and the all-new Chevy Traverse. I-26 at Harbison and at lovechevy.com. Together, let's drive.
Bill Gunner for Charwood Golf Club, one of the Midland's hidden secrets. You need to get out there today, especially if you're not at Willie B this fall enjoying a great atmosphere at a football game. Enjoy the great atmosphere at Charwood Golf Club. Schedule a tee time today, 803-755-2000. Schedule that tee time. Go visit the Wood today and enjoy, again, a great 18-hole layout in a fantastic, relaxed environment. That number again, 803-755-2000. Call today and schedule a tee time.
It's the Gamecock Central Takeover Hour
with Chris Clark, Wes Mitchell, and Tyler Head
on the Game Network.
Welcome back in. It is the Gamecock Central Takeover Hour presented by Firehouse Subs. Tyler Head, Wes Mitchell, Chris Clark along with you on your Thursday. Head out to Love Chevrolet phone lines. Welcome in, producer from the Bussin' with the Boys podcast. And Wes described you as an unapologetic Gamecock fan. JP Hovey, is that an apt comparison? Would you say that's fair?
An unapologetic Gamecock fan is exactly correct. I also would say I have to be the most optimistic Gamecock fan of all time. And also, thank you guys for having me on. This is truly a dream come true. Grew up watching or listening to 107.5 The Game on my way to and from soccer tournaments in Columbia, so this is awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. Appreciate having you on the topic of being optimistic. We were just discussing what we think their final record's going to be when the regular season's over. We're floating around 7-5. What are you thinking?
7-5 feels low to me. I'm feeling 9-3, and I will say this. I will always say this. You will never get me on record saying that South Carolina won't win the national championship, that we won't win out our season, because when those things happen, I got to be the guy that's able to pull back and say, hey, I called this.
For sure. JP, what's up, man? It's Wes. How you doing today?
Wes, I'm doing good, man. I'm a little bit under the weather right now, so if my voice sounds a little shaky, that's why.
No, you sound good, man. You sound good. So, hey, all right, let's lean into this. 9-3 is a 9-3 South Carolina team with this schedule. Is that a playoff team in 2024? I mean, I think 3-loss team can maybe get in depending on what happens elsewhere.
I agree. I think a 3-loss team can get in. I think it will be tough for us because I do feel like there will be 3 SEC teams in the playoff. And, oh, man, it's just like it's right now you would think it would be Texas, Georgia, and Tennessee. And unfortunately, we don't play any of those teams. So you'd have to hope we win out and at least one of those teams drops like 1 or 2 more, and then we sneak in. But also with all the other things going around the country, like I don't know if 9-3 will get it done.
Yeah, we'll definitely see what happens there, man. So, JP, I do want to talk more ball, but before we dive back into that, let's talk about your story, your journey a little bit, man. I mean, I've kind of followed along from afar a little bit. Obviously, you're the producer there with Bussin' with the Boys, and, I mean, y'all just had a former president on, presidential candidate. Like, what? Can you just take us through kind of how you worked your way up and just how surreal some of this has been for you, maybe?
Yeah, definitely. And feel free to cut me off, too, at any point if you have a question on any of it, because some of it is wild. But it started, I graduated from South Carolina in 2018 with a broadcast journalism degree. And I worked in the athletic department, like under Steve Fink. Shout out Michael Debates as well. Those are my guys. And that's where I kind of got my foot in the door in athletics. I was never good at math or science, so I knew I needed to take the sports route and communications. But the very first project I did was after I graduated, and it was a documentary about Corey Boyd, because I had become friends with him, and all the Gamecock fans know Corey Boyd, Gamecock legend. His story is unreal. In my head, I'm like, I want to be ESPN 30 for 30, doing E60s, all those types of things. So took it upon myself to try and shoot this documentary. Failed my way miserably to the end of it. I had all kinds of audio issues, camera issues. The documentary is out there, but that was my first taste of it all. I learned a lot. It was a tough pill to swallow. And then you fast forward, I moved to Dallas, Texas, where I did an internship with the Northern Texas PGA. Went from there to IMG Academy, and that's really where I kind of started to get my footing in, like with all the different videography stuff. And Justin King was like a huge inspiration in it all, seeing his work, because that sort of part of the athletic departments didn't exist as much when I was coming up through high school and college. So I didn't even know to be interested in that type of storytelling. So kind of just started teaching myself there, and that's where I became friends with some of these IMG studs, like at South Carolina right now. Lavoisier obviously had all the injuries, but he was at IMG when I was there. J.C. Latham, who was first-round pick from the Titans, he was there when I was there. So I've built all these cool relationships with these kids that are kind of growing up to be NFL guys, top SEC guys. But it wasn't until after IMG that I started my own videography business, and this is when the Bussin' with the Boys web starts to kind of create itself. One, Taylor, he trained at IMG when he was going into the draft, probably a few short weeks after Clowney had to embarrass him down in Tampa. But then I started doing work with Matt Jones, who was a former Florida Gators running back, and he played at Washington. So he was teammates with Will. That was over in Tampa. That's also where I became friends with Steven Garcia, because he would come out there and throw to them and all those different guys. Then I moved over to Boca Raton, Florida, because I was seeing a lot of opportunity in tennis, more so than football, because everybody was doing tennis. I've always kind of had like an entrepreneurship mindset. And so I made the move. Tennis was not working out. I'm showing up to tennis academies. Everyone's pretty much telling me no, even though I feel like I'm offering, like, hey guys, I'm willing to do free work for you. But it wasn't shaking out. MMA is also huge down there. So I started going to these MMA gyms, offering some free services for some younger fighters, some UFC guys. I rolled up to the gym Dustin Poirier trains at, and they like legit cracked the door open, and they're like, hey, we're not interested. Or he's like, hey, let me go ask the boss if we're interested. He comes back like 10 seconds later, clearly just did like a loop. Comes back, he's like, yeah, no, we're good. So I'm like, screw this guy. I'm going to go to the rival gym, show up there. I end up getting hooked up with one of the fighters. I go to practice with him. This is also the gym that Michael Chandler trains at. And if you follow Bussin' with the Boys, Michael Chandler is like a day one Bussin' with the Boys guest. So that's kind of like dot number 2 or 3. Then my buddy sends me Will Compton's Instagram story, and he's like, hey, we're looking for our first full-time employee. If you guys know anybody that could be one of the boys, let me know. I'm like, hey, man, I'll apply, but I doubt my resume looks like these others. It's worth a shot. and I was interviewing for a job with the UFC at the exact same time as I was interviewing with Bussin' with the Boys. And I come to find out, like, the interview process is getting dragged out. Ultimately, I don't get offered the UFC job. I get offered the Bussin' with the Boys job. Will and I clicked pretty quickly, and I'm like, man, I got to be honest. Like, I was interviewing for another job the same time as y'all, and I love the UFC. I love football. Like, it would have been a super hard decision. He was like, all right, now that we're boys, I feel like I could tell you this, but the same guy that was in the final round of the interview with us was in the final round with the UFC. Me and the UFC wanted him, and he chose the UFC, so then we took you. And it turns out, you know, like a few months later, the UFC calls again. They're like, hey, we have another position. We'd love to, you know, offer you the spot. But I was like, man, these guys already gave me my first, like, true opportunity in the game, so I need to be loyal throughout my contract, and kind of I've been here ever since. So it's been wild from the time I graduated school to now. I did not picture this, but I knew I had the work ethic, and luckily something came along.
It sounds like you lived about 4 different lifetimes in just those couple of years there alone. I got to ask, because we got to hit a break here. Are you cool to hang around for a couple more minutes on the other side with us?
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Oh, awesome. JP Hovey from Bussin' with the Boys can hang out with us for a few more minutes here on the Gamecock Central Takeover Hour, presented by Firehouse Subs on your Thursday here on The Game.
From the Midlands to the PD to the beach.
The Game Network.
Powered by Integrated Media. The Game TV.
Sponsored by Shepherd's Glass, a true reflection of quality.
The Game TV.
Hey, Columbia, Scott here with Traditions Fine Jewelers, telling you about the diamond buying difference when you purchase a diamond from us. No matter if you're looking at mine diamonds or lab-grown diamonds, at Traditions Fine Jewelers, we have a huge selection of both, and which you choose is up to you, but either way, you always get trade-in value of the diamond solitaire you purchase. When you spend over $1,500, you'll get a limited lifetime warranty when you get your ring checked every 6 months. Traditions has an in-house jeweler with over 30 years experience to take care of your every need. Ring sizing, stone setting, or if you just want to come by and get your ring cleaned. At Traditions Fine Jewelers, we have hundreds of mountings to see, touch, and feel, and to try on, or we can special order or custom create the perfect engagement ring for you. Traditions Fine Jewelers, 5134 Sunset in Lexington, or in the Village at Sandhills. Traditions Fine Jewelers, where the Midlands get engaged.
NIL is more important than ever to success in college athletics. Our friends at Garnet Trust are trying to build the best NIL program in the country for South Carolina student athletes. Head on over to garnettrust.com where you can support Gamecock athletes, get access to exclusive content, and help build the best NIL program in the country.
Get ready to smile because Herndon Chevrolet, your hometown Chevy dealer, is offering an amazing deal right now. Get up to $20,000 off new Silverados. Yes, you heard that right. Up to $20,000 off. Don't wait. Head over to HerndonChevy.com today and drive home in the truck of your dreams. Chevy, together let's drive.
Herndon Chevrolet, Herndon makes you wanna smile. Smile.
Call 803-510-5447 for complete details.
Have a passion for serving children and families? Apply to become a child welfare case manager at dss.sc.gov. This message is sponsored by the South Carolina Department of Social Services.
Twin Peaks is the best in the game. Here, the ultimate lunch lineup boasts wall-to-wall sports and scenic views. When you're hungry and in a hurry, the Scratch Kitchen delivers lunch in the clutch. I mean, where else can you order a 29-degree draft beer and a quickie combo on your lunch break? Only at Twin Peaks, the #1 sports bar.
Twin Peaks Scratch Kitchen scores every time. Dig into hand-smashed burgers, chef-inspired flatbreads, and more at your local lodge.
I don't know what's scarier, the spot your pet just left on the carpet or the idea of you trying to clean it. Good thing you can call my friends at Zerorest Carpet and Air Duct Cleaning to get your home insanely clean. Take advantage of their spooktacular savings and get 3 rooms of carpet cleaned for $129 when you mention me, Bill Gunner, at 107.5 The Game. Easily schedule your cleaning online, ZerorestColumbia.com. Zerorest, a smarter, lasting clean.
Powered by Integrated Media. The Game TV.
Sponsored by Shepherd's Glass, a true reflection of quality.
The Game TV.
Sponsored by Shepherd's Glass.
As Cybersecurity Awareness Month winds down, LifeLock reminds you to update your software regularly. These updates fix security flaws that could be exploited by identity thieves. But don't stop there. LifeLock offers comprehensive identity theft protection that goes the extra mile. LifeLock not only alerts you to suspicious use of your info, but also takes action to resolve identity theft issues, guaranteed, or your money back. Start your 30-day free trial at LifeLock.com. Use promo code NEWS. Terms apply.
Meet Cheryl. Hey. She's on vacation and lost in the moment. Unfortunately, so is her Chase debit card.
It's gotta be somewhere.
Maybe she lost it at salsa night.
These skirts should have pockets.
Or maybe she lost it at Pilates.
3 and 2 and...
But she's not worried. With the Chase mobile app, she can lock her card till it turns up. Tools that help protect. One bank that puts you in control. Visit chase.com/checking. Chase, make more of what's yours.
Chase mobile app is available for select mobile devices. Message and data rates may apply. JP Morgan Chase Bank, N.A. member FDIC.
What you're talking about.
Sponsored by Love Chevrolet.
On the Game Network.
Welcome back in as the Gamecock Central Takeover Hour presented by Firehouse Subs, Sourhead, West Mitchell, and Chris Clark along with you on this Thursday. Continuing our conversation with the producer of the Bussin' with the Boys podcast, JP Hovey, joining us on the Love Chevrolet phone lines. Appreciate your patience through that break there. You mentioned in your story of how you got to where you are, obviously working with Taylor and Will on the podcast. I mean, what's a normal day like with those guys? Is there anything normal? I mean, it seems like you guys have a lot of fun, but it seems like you never know what to expect anytime you tune in for an episode with those guys.
Yeah, I mean, that's exactly. You never know what to expect. For example, the Trump interview, the first initial talks about it were I got married August 17th, and, like, this says a lot about Will and Taylor. On August maybe 14th or 15th, Donald Trump's team calls Taylor. He's like, hey, are you guys available on August 16th to do this interview with us at Mar-a-Lago or whatever? And they both kind of look at me because they're on speaker, and they smile, and they're like, sorry, man, one of our guys is getting married, so we're not going to be able to do it. So then it gets pushed down the road, and then probably the same thing, like 3 days before we go interview them, they're like, hey, guys, Friday we're going to Chicago. We're going to interview Trump. It could be we got I won't tease it too much, but a Gamecock great is coming in November, and that's probably the most advanced we've had on a guest ever, and that's like 2 weeks out. So you got to be ready.
So I want to talk about my favorite interview so far, Connor Stallions. I mean, I DM'd you after that, man. I was like, man, that was just fascinating. Like, some podcasts, episodes, and this, like, I listen to a ton of podcasts. Sometimes I'm listening, but it's more passive. Other times I'm like dialed into every word coming out of this person's mouth. With Stallions, I was like dialed into everything. It was like just fascinating, the detail he was giving. What was that like behind the scenes, man? Without giving too much away, what was that like? How fascinated were you by that interview?
We were all locked in, and I think it's rare because usually 8 of us are on the bus, and we have awesome guests, and definitely guests with a lot bigger names than Connor Stallions, but that just is a testament to the knowledge he had because we're all football fans, and he's talking about all these things. We're all glued to him. We're thinking, yeah, no wonder Michigan did win. Was it cheating? Was it not? Is everybody kind of doing it? In my head, I'm thinking, whatever we need to do, Shane, we got to get a Connor Stallions on our coaching staff somehow, some way, because his knowledge of the game and his love for it would be a coach's dream. So he left the bus, and we were all like kind of mouths open. How does this kid do it? He's wired differently, and how can we get him in-house for all of our respective teams?
What did you think of that little tidbit about the Bluetooth in the helmet? Like, that was...
I know, man. The Bluetooth in the helmet, and we received a hint from a source, and we don't know how true this is. And especially coming from me, it definitely sounds like it could be biased. But we hear it's in that other conference located around the SEC, and that this team had good quarterback play over the last 15 years or so. One team in the ACC, it jumps out to me that maybe 2 teams has had good quarterback play, and I think we know which 2 teams those are. And now we've seen some of those quarterbacks in the NFL right now. Maybe they're struggling a little bit.
Yeah, and so for those who did not, those who did not see the interview, he basically said that there was a team out there that had. I don't know, Tyler, if you heard it. There's a team that had a Bluetooth in their helmet, or somehow were having that communication before everybody else was having that communication. So if you're listening out there, I would
explain some things.
I would encourage you to just go check out the full interview with him, because it was fascinating, the depth in which. And then he started talking about the cat and the mouse game of calling your play after the other team so that they're not reacting to you, you're reacting to them. I mean, it was just completely fascinating, Tyler.
Again, talking to JP Hovey, producer of the Bussin' with the Boys podcast. Of course, you have the perspective of being a Gamecock fan yourself on a national platform. When South Carolina comes up, whether it be on the show or just casual conversation with the guys, like what is the narrative that you feel like around this program from a national standpoint that you have?
So I would say prior to me starting here, like when I was first joining the bus, they kind of paid no attention to South Carolina and like anything that was going on. They sort of viewed us as maybe how a lot of people viewed us, of just like they're in the SEC, every now and then they upset somebody. Then we convinced them to go to South Carolina for the spring tour. They meet Shane Beamer. They love Shane Beamer. Now they're paying attention more. They see that. They realize we put out all this NFL talent. They realize we throw together good games. And we have a lot of heartbreaking losses, and that is a lot of the reason why I am the way I am. So I feel like we're getting a little bit more respect. They still don't understand completely kind of the pain that we can experience as South Carolina fans. But I think the overall view of South Carolina is growing in a positive way, kind of via the podcast and just via what they're putting together on the field. And a lot of people love Shane Beamer that we kind of come across with at all these different schools too.
JP, let's talk a little bit about this upcoming game for Carolina. Obviously, A&M, LSU, that's going to be, I think, an absolute battle on Saturday. We'll see who wins it.
Yeah.
Probably could go either way. But from that Nationals perspective you guys have, what are you kind of thinking looking ahead to Carolina and A&M next week? Night game at Williams-Brice. We actually haven't had many of those this year, so I think atmosphere is going to be 10 out of 10. But what do you think kind of looking ahead to this one, man?
And that's what it is, man. The atmosphere, I think, will play the ultimate role in it, and the fans are eager. Like you said, we haven't had a lot of night games. They're going to be itching for it. Texas A&M, I believe their weakness is their quarterback situation that they got going on. And obviously our strength is our D-line. Our D-line will keep us in any game. I believe Sellers has gotten better and better throughout each week. I don't know what some of the fan base is talking about when they talk crazy on him. This is the guy I want leading the team. And in his first prime time night game, I feel like that defense, we've seen the best defensive play we've seen in a long time. And I think next Saturday might be the best defensive performance that we see all year, just because of that night game under the lights at Willie B. And my guy Mazio Bennett from Greenville, South Carolina. Expect a big one from him.
Well, speaking of defense, by the way, we had Kyle Kennard on in the last hour. 8.5 sacks right now. Is he breaking Clowney's sack record this year?
Man, I think, of course, I think he is. That's everybody would probably guess that I think he is. But, I mean, the way that he's playing, and it's awesome hearing Taylor talk about Kyle Kennard and Dylan Stewart, because he'll break down the actual technique of these rushes they're doing and the scheme that our defense is creating with the pass rush and how they're moving guys all around, creating openings for, like we saw last week, everyone. And Kennard is just, I mean, we got a few veterans on the defense, but obviously he's got games under him. So to hear from Taylor about his technique, how he moves the alignment, how he gets them off balance, I have no reason not to believe he's not going to break it.
Hey, JP, what does Taylor say about Dylan Stewart? Because, I mean, this dude, like you see some of the analysts talk about like the guys that played, and they're just like, this kid on top of the freakish ability, just the movement ability, like the suddenness in which he moves. But he's not just out there being the raw athlete. Like, he's got some technique to him as a true freshman. But has Taylor talked specifics about what he sees in Dylan?
Yeah, I might mess up one of the ends, but he says he has the bend of Von Miller and the motor of Max Crosby. So bend is the number one thing an offensive tackle hates to go against because they keep that speed and they're able to dip that shoulder and kind of rip through. And where Stewart is elite is he uses that rip-through hand to get the offensive lineman's hand off of him and still get around it and kind of, you set the edge as the defensive lineman instead of the O-lineman doing it. And he's like, man, as a freshman, just from watching the tape, he's like, this kid, he's better than Clowney was when Clowney was a freshman. And so he can't say enough good things about him and how impressed he is with the technique he has. It's like the way he moves his hands and chops his feet at the speed he does it is like top class.
He's JP Hovey, again, producer of the Bustin' with the Boys podcast. Where can everybody find you and hear from you?
Yes, sir. You can hear from me at all of my handles. It's at jhovey34. Whenever South Carolina comes up, you can hear me on Bustin' with the Boys at Bustin' WTB. And if you like tennis, I also do a tennis podcast called The Slice. But, yeah, get at me on Twitter. I try to respond to everyone, and I appreciate everyone that follows and interacts.
We'll certainly have to have you back on down the line. And if Carolina does run the table and go 9-3 and find themselves in the playoffs, you will be our first call that Monday morning, I promise.
Trust me, I will be calling you. I might be there in studio.
There you go. Absolutely, man. Appreciate your time.
Thanks,
and
JP.
We'll check in with you down the line.
All right, guys. Thank you so much. It was awesome.
We'll come back and wrap up today's edition of the Gamecock Central Takeover Hour presented by Firehouse Subs. Tyler West and Chris on your Thursday here on The Game.
107.5 The Game.
In Columbia.
100.5 The Game.
In Florence.
100.3 The Game.
In Myrtle Beach. The Game Network. Hey, paying for streaming? One more thing you got to stream and pay for? Well, the Game app is, wait for it, free.
It's free! It's free! It's free!
Yes, all you got to do is go to iTunes or Google Play and download the 107.5 The Game app and listen for nothing in all respects of the word. Nothing.
This is Maggie Gray with a Sports Minute. Perhaps all the New York Jets needed was a new message from a different messenger. No, this wasn't Aaron Rodgers. It was wide receiver Devontae Adams who gave what teammates called a fiery speech to the team on Wednesday. Adams, who arrived 8 days ago, said there was a lack of energy and urgency against the Steelers that needed to be addressed. Is this really the spark the Jets needed? I doubt it. I'm Maggie Gray.
All right, when it comes to getting life insurance for your family, a lot of excuses can get in the way. But ask yourself this. If something were to happen to me, who would pay the mortgage, the kids' education, and the other bills? Then forget the excuses and check out Ethos Life, the online, easy way to get life insurance in 10 minutes. Ethos has rates that you can afford, like a $500,000 policy for a 40-year-old male starting at $1 a day or $30 a month with a few health questions and no medical exam. Get your free quote right now at checkethos.com. That's checkethos.com. Not available in all states. Rates do vary.
Did you know your skin is the largest organ of your body? Huh? That's why you should shower with Old Spice Super Hydration Body Wash instead of plain old bar soap. Love your skin by super hydrating it with vitamin B3 and glorious notes of vanilla and shea. Did you know that my super hydrated skin is the second largest organ of my body? The first is my heart. Old Spice. Men have skin too. Old Spice Super Hydration Body Wash. 24/7 renewing moisture. With daily use.
Honey, Jane just told me how much she paid for Bob's funeral. I was shocked. I hope we'll have enough to pay for our final expenses so we don't burden the kids.
Don't worry, Susan. We have protection through Gerber Life. Last year, I signed up for their guaranteed life insurance. It's a whole life insurance policy that helps with final expenses, such as medical bills, burial costs, and unpaid debts.
When did you do that? I don't remember taking a medical exam or answering any health questions.
That's because we didn't. With Gerber Life Guaranteed Life Insurance, coverage is guaranteed regardless of health. And best of all, our premiums won't increase over time.
I have to tell Carol about this.
Just tell her to go to GerberLifeFamily.com and answer 4 easy questions, and she'll get a free personalized quote instantly. That's GerberLifeFamily.com. Again, that's GerberLifeFamily.com.
It's football season, and Uber Eats is dropping undefeated deals on all your game day favorites. This week, score buy one, get one free spicy chicken sandwiches from Wendy's, only on Uber Eats. Craving even more? We've got you covered with game day deals on pizza, burgers, tacos, and more all season long. Uber Eats, official on-demand food delivery partner of the NFL. Order now. Terms, taxes, and fees apply. See app for details.
Meet Cheryl.
Hey.
She's on vacation and lost in the moment. Unfortunately, so is her Chase debit card.
It's got to be somewhere.
Maybe she lost it at salsa night.
These skirts should have pockets.
Or maybe she lost it at Pilates.
3 and 2 and...
But she's not worried. With the Chase mobile app, she can lock her card till it turns up. Tools that help protect. One bank that puts you in control. Visit chase.com/checking. Chase, make more of what's yours.
Chase mobile app is available for select mobile devices. Message and data rates may apply. JP Morgan Chase Bank, N.A. member FDIC.
It's the Gamecock Central Takeover Hour
With Chris Clark, Wes Mitchell, and Tyler Head.
on the Game Network.
Welcome back in. It is the Gamecock Central Takeover Hour presented by Firehouse Subs, Tyler Head, Wes Mitchell, and Chris Clark along with you on your Thursday. Reminder, Lower Lisa Special Teams Contest returns next weekend as the Gamecocks take on the Aggies. $800 up for grabs if the Gamecocks can score a special teams touchdown. If not, $100 more heads into the pot as the season continues. Go online to 1075thegame.com and register for your chance to win the Lower Lisa Special Teams Contest.
By the way, Tyler, you know the last time A&M came to town, there was a special teams touchdown.
It opened up the game.
Yeah.
A one-shoot Xavier Legette.
Xavier Legette ain't walking through that door.
He is not. But, I don't know. Juju may be primed to break one out.
Xavier's in Charlotte, unfortunately on a bad team.
Bryce Young finally getting the chance to start again.
He's starting again?
Yeah.
Andy Dalton
here. Andy Dalton got
in a car
wreck and hurt his thumb. So that's Bryce Young's opportunity to start again.
Had no idea.
Not
see Chris was wearing a Panther shirt yesterday?
I did see that.
I was going to, only a couple people said something like, why? It was like when Steph Curry went on with Van Pelt.
Yeah.
And he's like, go Panthers. He's like,
good luck with that.
Good luck with that.
Look, we don't mean to pick on the Panthers so much.
No, it's
there's
fine.
so much
They're bad.
dysfunction going on with them. And like for Bryce Young, this is obviously your last opportunity with the Panthers, but really it's your chance to audition to the rest of the league if you're going to stick around, and maybe not even a starting role as a backup, because there may be, if you show enough in this game, however many games you end up starting, maybe somebody sees you and says, you know what, that's a guy we can work with, maybe we can get something out of. But if you go out there and look like a disaster in this next opportunity, I mean, that could be it. Honestly.
And the Panthers are like, we hope they're like, can we squeeze a 6th-round pick out of, like
well, that's
on
the thing.
a trade?
He's also potentially on the trade block, too.
Mm-hmm.
So
I just hope Xavier Legette can, I would love for them to be able to get some wins, but some touchdowns.
Yeah. He's got a couple so
he
far
can
this
ride
year.
Dollar Bill again.
Yeah. I saw that Morgan Wallen had the Legette jersey on at the concert the other day.
Yeah.
So getting a lot of love.
I mean, they're at tank again level, right? Like at this point, just tank.
Yeah.
Like,
unfortunately, didn't work out well last
get
time.
another first round pick that you can blow,
and another.
That means that if you want to go see Spencer Rattler play in a couple weeks, tickets are probably gonna be pretty cheap up.
Be very cheap.
Bank of America.
Yeah. I feel like that should be a Gamecock takeover of the stadium. Just see Legette, J.C. Horn. You can see Spencer potentially.
Yeah.
Is Carr
Clowney
still out? Clowney?
Yeah, I don't know what Carr's timetable is right now. I think it's like a week-to-week kind of thing.
Yeah.
But if Rattler's still starting at that point in time, it's not going to be the most beautiful game of football by any means, but you can see some former game.
A lot of sacks probably in that game.
Yeah,
coming up.
Probably so.
Yeah.
Did you see one national media guy after the Broncos Saints game that was like, I don't know what anybody saw on Spencer Rattler anyway?
It was Pat Forty.
I'm like, dude, what are you even watching?
That's when somebody decides to turn on an NFL game randomly that doesn't follow, and then they decide to fire off a take to their like 200,000 followers, probably. They
had like an 8th string guard in there protecting Spencer.
He was running for his life.
No Olave on a short week at his second career start, and your take was That it's the quarterback's fault?
Yeah.
And no, Rashid? Yeah, he was out too.
So your top 2 receivers are out. You have a patchwork offensive line that had given up.
That is an insult to the word patchwork.
Next to most pressures in the league, or something along those lines. Like, yeah, Rattler not exactly set up for success there.
Yeah, it's tough.
I wish you wouldn't have brought that up. That made me angry, actually.
Needed to be said. Yeah, it's a terrible take. And I'm like, I'm about to respond to this guy, but no, you just look like a homer if you do. But
now, do you guys block people on Twitter when you see just outlandish takes like that?
Nah, I don't have anybody blocked.
I have a really long block list. I got a stupid opinion on something. I just block people.
I'll mute people.
I got a couple of y'all muted. Not y'all. A couple of y'all listening.
Oh, so that's why you don't see my tweets. Okay. Yeah. I see how it is.
A couple people listening, maybe. I got them muted.
I also have Wes and my guy Kev Roche will sometimes send me tweets from somebody I have muted.
Yeah.
Y'all do that on purpose, don't you?
I don't know who you have muted.
You do.
Is it Tyler?
Shh, don't tell him.
Well, you can still see him. You just got to click on the view from account you muted.
No, I'm not going to do all that. I don't want to see this person's tweets.
It's because of all my anti-Chris tweets. That's why.
He doesn't know you're muted.
I guess not. I'll have to create a burner account. Like, have you seen this thing about apparently Deshaun Watson's burner account?
Oh, no.
Starchley defends him at every corner. It's like just some like random made-up name, it seems like, that doesn't have a profile picture. But every time somebody writes or posts something
Smith,
about
123781,
yeah, something like that. So every time somebody posts something about Deshaun Watson, which again has had a terrible season, now is obviously out with the injury.
They've been busy this year.
They've been busy this year, that's for sure. By the way, we get Jameis Winston back in the starting lineup for an NFL team this week, and the post game presser is going to be amazing.
Maybe he needed his Bluetooth.
Maybe.
Oh, so that was
that was not the programming question though, correct? Or was it?
I mean, what were you thinking?
I know what I was thinking. What were you thinking?
I mean, I'm not going to say it. It's pretty obvious what I was thinking.
I would just say I was thinking of a place you don't have to go too far to reach. Tallahassee's a little ways away.
Oh,
just my thought.
I'm talking about Deshaun.
I thought you were talking. Oh, we thought you were talking about Jameis Winston.
I see the Bluetooth thing though, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I meant.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Deshaun's play this year.
Yeah, exactly. From a place that's not too far away. I thought you were talking about Jameis Winston.
Yeah,
okay.
yeah, no, that's what I thought too.
Yeah.
Clarifying.
So are we on the same page?
I think we're on the same page now.
All right.
Y'all aren't making the accusation.
We're not making the accusation.
I'm not making any accusation.
Yeah, you are
moving along information that was presented to us. Is that the best way to put it?
Trying to uncover who they were talking about, which is
yeah.
Go listen to the full Connor Stallions episode.
I still haven't listened to it yet, to be honest with you. Tyler, you've listened?
I've not listened to the whole thing yet.
I've got to go. Well, Wes told me about it a long time ago, and I failed. I'm putting it on in the car on the way home.
It does a better job than the Netflix documentary did.
Yeah.
Let's just say the word allegedly a couple times. Allegedly.
Allegedly.
There you go.
Well, when you're on the record, you have to be careful what you say.
Yeah. Seriously, go listen to the interview if you're like a football head and just want to burn an hour. It was. Did you ever listen to the whole thing?
Not the whole thing.
Did you listen to Chris and Derek Hyman interview yet?
Not the whole thing.
You didn't listen to any of it.
I did listen to some of it. Okay. Not the whole thing. I do a lot of things around here, guys. We'll have a full preview Friday for Football Friday coming up tomorrow. Halftime show coming up next with myself and Terry Ford. Gamecock Central Takeover Hour presented by Firehouse Subs on your Thursday here in the game.
107.5 The Game. Broadcasting live from the Herndon Chevrolet Studios.
Take up to $20,000 off new Silverados.
Stop by or shop online today and see why Herndon Chevrolet makes you smile. Together, let's drive.
All right, everybody. It's lunchtime, 11:55 Eastern here on The Game, so already know where I'm going to recommend. It's our friends over at Firehouse Subs. Next week, we'll be out at their new Sparkleberry location. We'll get more details on that on Friday, so you can come out there and see us. But for now, know that there are 14 other Midlands Firehouse Subs locations where you can get yourself a great lunch, dinner for the family, or go ahead and order yourself a tailgating package for the next game. Hey, the A&M game would be a great time to order a tailgate package. FirehouseSubs.com is where you can check out all of their menu offerings, including the new limited-time Thanksgiving turkey sub. I had it last year. Can't wait to get it. Hope they have it for us on Monday so we can sample that thing again firehousesubs.com, or use our favorite method. Download the Firehouse Subs app. Earn yourself some rewards toward future purchases. Use the Rapid Rescue to Go so you can avoid the wait. Order online. It'll be waiting on you at any of the 14 local Firehouse Subs, firehousesubs.com.
This year, Roy and Dana Finley are shaking things up at AAA Heating and Air. For the next 12 months, they're telling their customers no. Get a new system purchase with no payments and no interest for an entire year. You heard that right. Purchase a new system now and make no payments for a full 12 months. So do what I did. Call AAA Heating and Air for your free estimate and tell them Jay